has about the report, though.
Jackie.
Kyle, I'd like to introduce our newest board member, Jackie Wilson, who's unable to be here this evening, but is attending by Zoom. She's a former school administrator, and she, I know, has some questions relative to the audit. So Jackie, you're up.
Great, thank you. Nice to meet you. I'm assuming, I mean, the issue regarding the reconciliation of the general fund checking account to the general ledger, that's been an issue for 3 years. There was a solution offered to us by Mike, and I'm wondering if you have seen that solution, and I'd like you to weigh in. Do you think that will solve the issue? And what should we be looking for going forward to know that that has been solved?
I guess I'm not familiar with the solution you're talking about.
So Mike, would you be able to explain that?
Sure.
Thanks.
Basically what happened is and I think in your packet there should be a brief explanation, but to give you the Reader's Digest version, we got together with Nemrick, who is our accounting software manufacturer, if you will, or whatever, to have them help us get this under control and put to bed. And in doing so, in fact, Darlene Kelly is on this. She's from Nemrick, so she might be able to speak to this better than I can. But it's not unusual, and Darlene, you can correct me if I'm misinterpreting what you said, for towns to not reconcile to the general ledger, because the way Nemrick works, there's one module where you go into, and any kind of transaction that affects cash is put into this other module, the bank reconciliation module. When we do our bank rec, we'll put in the ending balance of the bank reconciliation, all cash transaction, checks that were cut, deposits that were made, and everything is in that module. So when we take the bank rec, we reconcile, and that module balances every single month without exception. It's just the transition from that module to the general ledger. And from what Darlene explains, a lot of it is timing issues. And some of these timing issues could be very hard to find because you have to look at several different reports within Nemrick to do that. So Darlene was able to reconcile our account for January and February. And then March and April, some of these timing issues happened again. But in May, it reconciled again back to that same number from January and February. And now we feel we have it finished. And we're going to make the adjustment necessary to get it to balance. And henceforth, Nemrick, the accounting software people, are actually going to do our bank recs for us. And they do it for many other towns. And Darlene, if you want to speak up and explain it a little bit better than I can, please feel free.
Sure. So essentially, Nemrick is a little bit unique in the software that it is. Our modules are independent of each other. We have an accounts payable module, a cash receipts, tax administration, and all of those modules transfer into the general ledger. And that is where what Mike is talking about, we do a reconciliation of all the subsidiary ledgers as they transfer into the general ledger. If the timing of those transfers from the subsidiary ledger to the general ledger isn't accurate, so they're receiving things that are getting posted in one month and they're receiving them in the general ledger in another month, because Nemrick operates on a period-driven basis, not a date-driven, if the general ledger gets closed for the period and then a transfer gets done that really belongs to that previous period, there's no way to put it back to the period. Say, if they closed it for the period of, like April, and they found something in that wasn't transferred, then it would appear in the month of May and in the period of May, not, and so often those tiebacks to the checking account on the balance sheet to the bank rec accounting for withdrawals and outstanding withdrawals and deposits is off because they've transferred it in the wrong period of time. So can't really tell how long this has been happening because I don't know that it's ever been done, but they need to do, which we have now taught them and shown how to resolve it. The reconciliation itself is reconciling. It's the tie back to the general ledger to make sure that your financial reports you're receiving represent the correct cash balance. So I think we have come to a number that has been consistent for 3 to 4 months. And I felt comfortable suggesting to make that entry. And then from this point on, that reconciliation gets done every single month so that we know at all points in time, whenever those financials are produced for the board, that cash ties back to the balance that's in the checking account.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Okay, so just a second, Jackie, before you get back into it. Kyle, did that make sense to you?
Yes, that makes sense. I mean, that's basically what we were saying is that we always see a reconciliation that reconciles the bank statement information. It was just that next piece that that amount that was showing as a reconcile with outstanding, with what were known as outstanding checks was actually reconciling back to the general ledger. And then we know that was changing every month. But we did a look and that was different every month. So which made us feel like it was really just timing of things that were not being acknowledged in the reconciliation for what was getting it back to that number.
And when Scott and I spoke about this a little bit earlier, he indicated, and Mike, you indicated again this evening, that NEMRIC, and Ms. Kelly, you can weigh in on this, that NEMRIC is actually going to do this for us now. It won't be done in-house.
We haven't contracted with them yet. We've discussed it and we probably will move in that direction.
Okay, so that hasn't happened. Okay.
Hasn't been finalized with that.
Yeah.
So
I-
I understand that NEMRIC is a pretty common software used by municipalities throughout Vermont. And I assume that you have other audit clients that are municipalities. Have you seen this with other audit clients?
So just about every town uses NIMRIC to some degree, at least some degree. I think there's only one other one I can think of that I work with that uses something else for their GL, for their software, but they're still using it for like all their tax assessment information and things like that. But yeah, it's NIMRIC software is a very common thing. And I think what is sometimes we do see other people that have complicated transactions that they might have a separate GL reconciliation that just acknowledges, it's just all it is acknowledging the difference still. But why, like there's a difference in what the reconciled balance is versus what the GL balance is, and they've identified what it's from. So that way it's just not showing as there's a difference that no one knows about.
Do you have any other software companies that you could recommend that we could look at as an alternative?
So Vermont, so for Vermont towns, I can't say, I know that's a question I've had from other people as well, but there's really, I think just because of the use of all the tax information in NIMRIC, everyone I've talked with has said it's more of a hassle to have someone else. So I guess I don't have any recommendations at this point, just based off of my experience.
Okay.
But I just know it is, I mean, NIMRIC is a little I think it's a little clunky and a little bit outdated. But but there's like a lot of people that everyone else is using it and is in the same boat though.
They provide us with assistance in other areas too in the accounting field, so very, very helpful.
So Jackie, we're going to come back to you. What I would recommend, so that we're following Robert's rules, is that if the conversation needs to go to someone else, that you let me know that, and I will identify the person that it goes to, just to keep the meeting from turning
Okay.
into a
Sure,
conversation.
sure.
Thank you.
Can I ask then, is it, Scott, do you need anything from us? I think it sounds like it makes sense for us to contract with Nemrick to make that happen. Do you need anything from the board to make that happen?
No, I don't, Jackie. I just haven't had a chance to talk to them yet, and I wanted to get past this hurdle
Yeah.
with the presentation first, and then I was going to talk to NEMRIC, which stands for New England Municipal Resources, in case somebody doesn't know.
Okay, thanks. Am I okay to ask another question, Ivan, or do you
Oh,
want to?
yes, go ahead.
Okay, and ideally, I think it would be, this is just a timing question. And so ideally, I think it would be great if we could have our audit report done in time for publication in our annual report. And so that would be in January, that would be ready to roll. And I know that there are other communities I've looked at their annual reports and that's the case. So is there some barrier for us as to why I can't do that? Is that, are you guys overloaded on your end, or do we need to do something differently? I think it would be great to have it in the current year if we're able to do that.
So maybe Scott can give me some idea on this. Well, do you know roughly about what time you have to have the report, be able to get it in there?
Yeah, early January.
In January. I can go back to the office and talk with people there and see what we can do about trying to get that for this coming year, to have it done in early January.
Yeah, it's been requested each year, so I think it'd be
I think-
great if we could do it.
Yeah, and I think so. Yeah, I think that's something we can try to
We'll see you early.
make it happen. Try to put a little more effort on our end to have that happen this year.
Okay, I'll follow up.
The other discussion was that when I started on the board and we started having these meetings with the auditor, that we had a lot more to clean up. And over the years, it's become a little bit more, I don't want to call it routine, but there's less, you are more familiar with our infrastructure and how we do things. So I'm hopeful that would.
Yeah, we had used the same audit firm for quite a few years, and they were somewhat local, and they knew Manchester well and were very familiar with the way that we operate. They stopped doing municipal audits, and quite honestly, we had a really tough time trying to find somebody that would take us on, and we certainly appreciate and want you to continue. But at that point in time, we were informed that municipal auditing is not a growing industry, that people don't say, "Ooh, boy, someday I want to be a municipal auditor." So it gets tougher and tougher to find firms or people that'll do that on our behalf. And because of that, there's still just as many municipalities and other government functions in the state, but fewer people doing it. So that becomes part of the scheduling issue with trying to get it done in a more timely manner. But I'm really encouraged to hear you say that you think you might.
I mean, just to circle back, I mean, kind of to, I think this conversation we've had before when I've been here is just, I think like the first year when we had it was like the conversation was, as a new client, it's always harder to get you guys up in that priority. But now as an existing relationship, it's easy. It's easier for us to try working up in that priority for us.
That's great.
Yeah. I'm gonna let Heidi ask a question, Jackie, then we'll come back to you.
So
Yeah, I'm good. I can be quiet.
I think sometimes when people see or hear the word deficiencies, when it relates to an audit, it creates kind of a nervousness around whether you feel like you found something that was negligent, criminal, bad controls. Could you speak to that part of the audit?
Yeah, I mean, so So I'm gonna go back to this Oliver report here. Yeah, so what that significant, deficiency is just stating is we did find, it's called a significant deficiency in that internal control over that balance sheet reconciliation. So that is the official term. So there's significant deficiency or material weakness. Those are the kind of the two options that we have, and significant deficiency is a step before material, where you get to having a material weakness. So it's just saying that it's significant deficiency is something that we found. Do we want to make note of to the governance here? That because of that, there is a higher risk now of a material misstatement that could be missed during the audit. That's really what it is. That is with significant deficiencies in internal controls, there's a higher risk that there could be a material misstatement that is missed throughout the course of an audit. That's what that means. That's not saying that there is one. It's just acknowledgement that it's at a higher risk that there is something materially misstated that it's not found.
So, and then circling back, I mean, for 3 years, this has been really the only significant finding that you've had. And there've been several attempts to get it rectified, and now we've gone right to the source, and Ms. Kelly laid out an approach that she feels will do this, and apparently is done with other municipalities. From your perspective, if we were to contract with them to do the task that she outlined, do you think that addresses the issue?
Yeah, it's from listening to Ms. Kelly, I think so. I mean, it sounds like what she's saying exactly what we've been talking about is just that extra step of just that in between that report from NIMRIC, that reconciliation that they get from NIMRIC to the actual GL from the cash module to the GL, I think is a step that's missing, and it sounds like that's what she was offering.
I mean, I've been receiving these audits for 40 some odd years in this position. And the auditors always find something to make mention of. And once it becomes of a certain level, like you said, you have two different options as to two different categories as to what you can classify. And we've always been able to rectify those things and it's moved forward. This one's been kind of sticky. It's just, we wanted to fix it. We thought we fixed it. We've had discussions about it, but I think we're on a course now that I don't want to see it in a future audit. And I don't want, I know that you would be happy not to have that in there. So I would strongly recommend that we try to work something out to go forward with this.
And just for the select board's reference, the auditors print this independent auditor's report on page 71. So that's basically a summary and an explanation of what they call a deficiency or a material weakness. And if you know in that explanation that they give, and they explain each one of those, it says in the second to last paragraph that says, given these limitations during our audit, we did not identify any deficiencies in internal control that we consider to be material weakness. However, material weaknesses or significant deficiency that may have not been identified. So, that's a summary of their report from the beginning to the end. And of course, the management has to write how we're correcting it, and they include that in the audit, the next page.
Mike, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I'd like to put a little bit of perspective into this whole thing. This finding that's been in the audit report over the last 3 years isn't something that all of a sudden popped up. It's been like this since before I started. And our old auditors realized, again, going back to the bank reconciliation module versus general ledger, as long as things balanced in the bank reconciliation module, to them, that was our cash was reconciled. The fact that it didn't go into the general ledger, they didn't find it material and never felt it necessary to have a finding on it. But this isn't just something that all of a sudden popped up 3 years ago.
Having said that, we're gonna make it straight, make sure it balances on both, so we have double reconciliation.
Right, I mean, I'm sorry, just to speak to that a little bit too, like, I don't think there's necessarily anything that needs to necessarily like be done or entered into the GL to balance it. It's just more of a recognition of what that difference is from. It's just that someone knows why those are different. That's really what we're looking.
We pay you what I feel is a pretty significant amount of money to point these things out to us. So, you know, I'm happy that you do that. Of course, a change in auditor brings a change of perspective. And I agree with Mike. Nothing changed 3 years ago that caused us to be flagged, except a different auditing firm with a different approach decided that it was more significant perhaps than the previous auditor. Thank you.
So,
Yeah, John.
I would just ask that if we, you know, if we do consider, and I think we should utilize the services of NEMRIC, that if we're doing these reconciliations on a monthly basis, that there is some trigger that if we can't get it to reconcile for X amount of days, that's either brought to you or the board, so that we're not waiting, you know, to find
9
out
months.
9 months later that, oh yeah, back in July, there was a discrepancy that we weren't able to reconcile, so that we can address it.
Absolutely. And the other thing that I've started to do, starting this next fiscal year in 10 days, 7, 8 days, is to present as part of your packet, a monthly financial report that you can review prior to the meeting. So if you have any of these type of questions, you can bring them up for me and we'll answer them.
Good. And just so people understand, we do have a board member that still signs warrants and we have internal reviews on these things. And this is an outside audit of what we're doing internally and for the most part, it's quite.
It's a snapshot of a single
Yeah.
day, basically in a year.
Steve, you had your hand up. Yeah, please, go to the podium.
So getting back to Heidi and Mike's concern, you're here to tell us, as the auditor, that you cannot pinpoint, yes or no, that there has been embezzlement, fraud, et cetera, prior to you being the new auditor.
Steve, can you direct your questions to
Yeah,
Ivan?
sorry.
And can either answer them or ask the auditor. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Kyle heard your question.
Sorry.
So, yes, Kyle, do you? I think that's the answer.
I want to make sure I'm hearing your question right. You're asking about what was going on here before we were the auditors? So we review opening balance sheet items, and we substantiate those balances when we start. But for what happened, I haven't reviewed any audits or field work or anything from before we were here.
Does that answer your question, Steve?
Is that something we should do? I mean, if this was happening,
Audits.
yeah, if this is happening prior to Mike and Scott's arrival, is there a chance that there is money missing, is my question.
Well,
Somewhere, I mean, it doesn't have to be pilferage, but
if you listen to Mike's explanation, and Mike has been here for a number of years now, so he was here with prior auditors. And that's the way that it has been done from when he started. And it's the way that it was done, I believe you said, Mike, even prior to you starting here. So, I don't. I would like to hear an expert's opinion on that, but from my perspective, our internal finance officers have told us that everything reconciles. And in our internal reviews, it showed that everything reconciled. There was a timing issue with how things happened because it wasn't a direct correlation because of the modules that were being used. But it's interesting in this exercise with NEMRIC through Ms. Kelly, they went back several months and were very comfortable that they landed on a number that reflected the balances based on past performance that they can now move forward from to shift into this new relationship if we decide to go that course. So you can spend a lot of money to try to find something that I really believe, knowing the people, having been here, knowing how hard everybody works, that there's probably no smoking gun there. Forensic audits, you talked about that a lot over the years, even when you were on the board. And of course, we have a very specific item now that you're talking about, so that narrows the focus, but it's still very expensive to go back into the book that far. And I don't think it's a good use of the taxpayers' money to do that. I don't believe there's been an issue. I think that we can meet what the auditor is asking by this new relationship. And it's being reconciled back a few months to numbers that we feel are firm. So from my perspective, it would kind of be a waste of the taxpayers' money to go back.
Wouldn't you feel safer of spending $60,000 and possibly finding $400,000 error? Wouldn't you feel more comfortable? I'm sure the board would.
This is a pretty intimate relationship that we have with the numbers here in the town. We develop the budget. We look at the warrants. We know how the money transfers. I'm going to tell you that there is absolutely nothing of that magnitude that could have possibly gone through that wouldn't have been detected under the way that we were reconciled.
Can I ask the question? Kyle, can you give us a general idea of, like, for example, that if there was a dollar amount that didn't reconcile month over month, like what value that dollar amount would be?
I'm not sure I understand.
Like if those two systems weren't talking to each other, two ledgers, and they hadn't perfectly reconciled by the end of the month, what's the like, give me an example, like what kind of dollars are we talking?
You're asking me a tough question on that, because I'm going to give you the accounting answer of it depends. It depends on what the timing issues and where the money's coming from, what it is. I mean, from what I could see, it varied every month. It could be one direction one month. It could have been the other direction in the next month. So that was a variable. It varied each month. I can't really give you an answer of what that difference was.
It's not 400,000. It's 40 or 50 or $100. It's not.
Yes, it is not 400. I think I looked it up before we came. I think the difference at the end as of June 30th, 2025, I think was somewhere around 20,000 was the difference.
Well, they don't know.
Wait, Steve.
You're not giving us an answer, and I'm not jeopardizing their ability to do for us, but they don't know how much it is. So when they say they don't know, how can we say that we should bring in a third party, a forensic audit, to get what that amount is? And I know you understand what a word.
When Howard Daly was the treasurer for the fire department, he was, anybody that knew Howard knows that he was very particular. And he would, if things didn't reconcile by a nickel, he would spend months and months and months. Actually, his wife would spend months and months and months, because I think she was Yeah, but anyways, and finally, they would say, it's a nickel. We're not gonna spend all this money to try to find that nickel. You know, we're talking about discrepancies in the magnitude of $20 to $40. And then it picks up in the next month and it swings the other way. And at the end of the year, which is just a point in time, it's not, there's nothing definitive about it. It's off by $20. But then if you go through the next year, you find that $20 came back in. I mean, I believe what Mike is saying, and I'm going to let Ms. Kelly speak because she may have something to add to this conversation. Ms. Kelly, yes.
So I just want to be super clear. The reconciliation is not off. The reconciliation that Greta does takes everything that's gone through the bank statement and has it gone through the general ledger as well. So that piece is reconciling. So every deposit that comes into the town, every check that leaves the town, if it is on the bank statement, she's looking for it in the general ledger and she's clicking it off. That is working. So she can see every single thing that the general ledger says has left, has come in. That reconciles. So like in a particular month we were looking at, for the month of March, an April payroll from April 1st was put into the period of March. Well, that check is dated April 1st. So it really should not come out of your checking account in the month of March because those checks were dated April 1st. By transferring that batch into March, you reduced your cash on your balance sheet to say those checks already left the town. But in reality, they didn't leave and a bank wouldn't see them until April. And so that's the kind of issue we're having. It's not that you can't identify money coming in or checks leaving. It's a timing because they were in their mind thinking, well, that money was paid for the month of March. But again, the check was dated April. So it's an April cash transaction. So it's a reconciling item outside the system in an Excel spreadsheet to say, I know this money is showing leaving our account in March, but it really isn't because I know it is dated April. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about. We are not talking about money missing off the bank statement that's not in the general ledger. That is not what is happening.
How far back did you go? How far back did you go?
We reconcile every month with this.
I'm sorry?
We reconcile this every month.
No, how far back as far as time? 3 years, 4, 5? Back?
We start every year in July 1st. So every audit you see is based on July 1st through the June 30th.
That's my concern, Scott, is prior to the 3 years you're talking about, with what happened during that period?
The former auditors didn't view the mistiming as a
Finding.
yeah, as a material weakness or a finding.
Let's-
So they didn't write this up.
Let's back up. The former auditors recognized this timing issue. They knew that it existed, but did not see it as a discrepancy or a material
Deficiency.
So it's a difference in perception between professions. They were well aware of it. But since it all reconciled in the office over time, had no problem with it. Kyle is telling us, a different auditor from a different firm, that they don't like to see that because there is a potential that it may not reconcile in the future. So
I could pick up on that a little.
if you could,
So I guess what kind of, I think I talked with Mike about this before too, is like that number is right now is not in the scope of our, what we call material for our statements. But if that number from that bank reconciliation is off by enough that is material from the GL, well, that becomes an issue now on the financial statement, on the report itself. And I guess that's what we want to make sure it doesn't get to. So if that difference happens, that we can't figure out why, or a solution for why the reconciliation is off, I mean, that's where you can have an adverse opinion on the financial report.
I mean, does that answer your question or concern?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you've got a good relationship, and I don't want to keep it that way, but, you know, honestly, you know, I've been looking through all this audit material
since I was on the board. And you know our conversation on the board that I questioned some invisible miscalculations. And you and the prior board knew that. In all honesty, I really think you should get a third party involved and spend that money. I think it's going to relieve the select board at this time if there's any issues. I think the taxpayers expect that of you in transparency and accountability. And I am not going to point a finger at anybody, nor have I. But there are some serious issues in the past.
I disagree. I don't think you can say in a blanket statement that there were some serious issues in the past. You, when you were on the board, and since you were on the board, you've every year brought up the fact that from your perspective, you feel that there might be. We've always had outside auditors, we've got internal controls, and never, ever was there a situation where under either of those controls, internally or from the outside auditor, they said, you've got a problem that we think we need to address. So as far as missing money or something nefarious going on or something along those lines, I appreciate that the new auditor is saying, this is an unusual, not a normal accounting practice on the reconciliation that we'd like to see changed so that we can verify going forward that this is that all the numbers reconcile. They're not saying we feel that there was something nefarious going on in the past and somebody has embezzled money. I mean, Mike and I, you remember, I mean, we did have a time when the town treasurer did embezzle money. And we put internal controls after that. We still had elected auditors at that point in time. And in my tenure on the board, we decided that it was a job that was beyond the scope of lay people, that we felt we needed a professional outside auditor to come in and do this. And that's what we've done since I've been on the board. I think it's a way. I think it's a waste of money. I really do, to go back and throw a lot of money at some speculation that there's something nefarious going on, because we have the controls in place so that doesn't happen. And hopefully going forward, this item won't show up on our annual audit. Mike has his hand up.
The word controls keeps coming up, but I'm not sure people are aware of what the controls are that we have in place. Would you mind if I did a quick summary of those?
I think it might be helpful, Mike. Yes, thank you.
Okay. So anything that comes into this office that needs to be paid in the form of an invoice goes to the department head of whatever invoice that department belongs to. He approves the payment for the invoice. Once he approves it, it goes to our accounts payable department where the invoice is keyed into the system. We do a check run every week, and prior to us issuing any checks or mailing any payments out, a select board member will come in, look at the warrant, and go down the list of every check that's going to be cut, who it's being cut to, the amount it is, and the whole bit. And once the select board member does that, then our town treasurer, Brian Vogel, comes in to actually sign the checks, and he does a review again to make sure there's nothing that looks, and he asks questions. Well, what is this check for? But so, I mean, there's so many eyeballs looking at a disbursement, it would be nearly impossible to do anything nefarious, or, I mean, there's just so many controls to prevent that from happening. And I'm not sure people are aware of that.
Thank you.
I guess I just want, I think another thing that comes up that is confusing for some people, and I wanted to see if you can talk about is the unassigned funds and how we account for those. And I think it'd be useful to kind of hear your input on that.
Yeah, so unassigned funds are funds that are in your general fund that aren't assigned, committed, or restricted by anything. They're basically they're just there without any direct purposeful use for that at that point in time. So the assigned funds is a designation that like the select board can assign funds to be used for something, and then you get them out of unassigned, they become assigned. They can become committed if it was if the taxpayers approve of money to be set aside for something. The taxpayers now commit those funds, and now the taxpayers' votes are the only ones that can decommit them from to be used for anything besides that. And then restricted funds are something that our outside third party has put a restriction on the use of funds that have been given to the town. So grants can have restrictions, can give you restricted funds, loans can give you restricted funds. Someone can donate funds to the town with restrictions on them that the town has to use them for only specific purposes. But so if in general, like if the town has a surplus for a year and nothing gets there's no designation for those funds, they just become unassigned funds that can now be used for the town's use in future years.
If you look at the balance sheet on page 14, you'll see under each column, it has the funds listed. And like in the general fund, which is the first column, it shows that unassigned fund of 860,000. However, in the next column, which is the CERC fund, that's an assigned fund of 781,000. Same thing with the Green Mountain Estates, that Green Mountain Estate acquisition, that's an assigned fund of 616,000. And then the fourth column there is Depot Street proceeds, 1,418,000. So those are all assigned funds dedicated to a specific purpose. The next column shows the restricted funds of 1.9 million. And like Kyle said, those are restricted by either grant agreements or donors requirements when they're made. So all those other funds are geared up to something specific, whereas the unassigned funds is basically leftover money in our general ledger account. And we also can use that as a fallback in case we have an emergency during the year.
And so under unassigned, where there's the loss of 141,170 under non-major governmental funds, what does that represent?
Oh, that's a Kyle question, and that's
So
it's like
so the special revenue funds, they can't have this says special revenue fund. They can't have unassigned fund balances. They have to have either signed or committed or restricted fund balances and to be considered a special revenue fund and not just part of your general fund. So in those funds, it looks to like the recreation fund. If I go back into page 63 to 65, I can see that negative balance comes from the recreation fund. Once a special revenue fund actually exceeds its fund balance, and it goes from assigned to unassigned, because you can't have a negative assigned balance. Has to go back to your unassigned negative balance. Now, that's the only time the special revenue fund will have anything in the unassigned funds is when it's negative. And it just looks like, the recreation fund just hasn't had, as, I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know what the reason for why it's there, why it was there. It doesn't look like it happened this past year. For something that wasn't, that would look, but actually was.
It happened when they were refurbishing the Applejack Stadium, and there was going to be repayment made over a period of time, and that just didn't happen in each year's budget. And so it created a deficit on paper that we were going to pay ourselves.
Right.
Right, so essentially the general funds lent it the money.
I believe that most of that number, like Scott said, refers back to a loan that the town made to ourselves. We loaned money from what was then called the UDAG fund, but it's now called the CERC fund. And the expectation was, we had a policy in place that we were never going to invade the principal of the UDAG. So we could invest that money and then use the interest from those investments to fund capital projects. We had an idea, since we had a $300,000 need at the rec area relative to Applejack Field, and there was fundraising going on, that we would loan the funds from UDAG, not draw them from UDAG, but in fact, loan it to the rec area as an investment to be paid back through donations. And it never met our expectations. So that is a carryover from a long time ago, a significant portion of that. There's still money that goes into that. If we used to have the banners on the field that local businesses would pay for, and that money went into paying down this.
Yeah, but now that money goes into a revenue under the rec. So this is really
That's actually-
cleanup is what we need to do on that.
Yeah, we need to figure out what to do with that going forward. And part of that's when I say this.
Right, you guys are authorized.
We need to figure out, if that's not gonna get paid down, we need to clean that up.
So if we have values that we've assigned to projects through our budget over the past, many years that don't get spent. Obviously, for the purposes of our town report, we only have two columns, so we only see like current year, prior year, audited, unaudited, et cetera. Does those go into the unassigned funds as well over a period of time, or are they still assigned in perpetuity until they're spent, or we make a decision?
If the money's been given to those funds, it's assigned. So anything that money earns is now assigned as well.
You'll see on the CERC fund, it has 781,000 assigned. There is some money like that in there, Jonathan.
A good question.
What was the CERC fund initially designed to do after you did?
Okay, the federal government loaned money to the Equinox Hotel, $3.6 million in UDAG funds. And then the payback under the UDAG program was to the municipality. So the money came from the federal government, but when the developer paid that money back, it came to the municipality. We were told, we had a lot of conversations with the principal of the Equinox Hotel at the time, and they made it very clear that they had absolutely no intention of paying back any of that money, that the practice was that it never got paid back, but the municipality received a benefit by them investing that money in that property and paying taxes, blah, blah, blah. We took the opposite position that, yes, indeed, that money did need to be paid back. And we entered into a long litigious situation with the Equinox that the odds of winning were pretty slim until Guinness came along and wanted to invest in the Equinox Hotel. Guinness did not want this noise with the municipality in the background. They wanted Equinox to be on good terms with the municipality and said, settle this and get it done. All of a sudden, we were back in the driver's seat. We received $1.1 million in cash. We received the airport property, which we're still trying to figure out what to do with. It was owned by the Equinox. And here's the good news was we received a percentage, and I can't remember if it was 3 or 5%. We're talking 1980s, of their profits going forward, that the town got a share of those profits. And unfortunately, they have never showed a profit. So we never saw any of that money. But we did get the 1.1 million that people said that we would not get. And we worked hard on this, and we had professionals work on our behalf. So anyways, that money was restricted. That came from the federal government. If it got paid back to the municipality, that was just restricted under the UDAG program, had to be used for capital expenses that qualified under Title I. I can't tell you what those are anymore. We're going back 40 years plus. But the program went away. UDAG went away on the federal level. All those restrictions went away. Jeff Wilson was the town manager at the time, when all that went away. And we created the CERC fund. And didn't want to call it UDAG anymore because it really had nothing to do with Urban Development Action Grant or whatever it was. It had nothing to do with that program. UDAG went away. So we renamed it CERC, Capital Improvement, whatever it is. It's an acronym. I don't remember that either. But anyways, so there are no restrictions on that other than when we set it up, we said we can't use that money unless we get voter approval. So if anytime we're going to use UDAG funds, whether it be interest or principal, we have to have voter approval to use that. And that policy is still in place.
With a
Is that the
certain,
same with the meals and rooms tax?
What's that?
Is that the same with the meals and rooms tax monies?
Well, yes, because you know the article well, rooms and meals tax, option taxes, in the budget, we allocate a certain amount of revenue from option taxes to go into our revenue stream. If local option tax outperform the number that we and the voters approve in our budget, the overage goes into the tax relief fund. If the option taxes come up short of what we budgeted to put into the revenue stream, then money comes out of the property tax relief fund to fund that difference. So this year, I think the number was 1.4 million or something like that from local option taxes. Mike.
If someone explained to me on page 65, under the property tax relief fund, due from other funds, $212,622. What funds are they due from? And when were they transferred? Who authorized it?
It's probably a Mike question there.
Yeah, that's going to require probably a deep dive.
Actually,
Mike, off the top of your head, do you have an answer to that?
I do. That
Okay.
$212,000, and there should be another one, and I forget the amount, maybe 70-something thousand. That was the excess that we received in local option taxes over what we budgeted. That was the amount that was transferred into the Charles Schwab account into the taxpayer relief fund. And Kyle, you've got the audit in front of you. Is that the correct?
Yeah, there was a $70,000, wait a minute.
That looks correct, Mike.
And that's something that's in the select board set up as a standard. It's automatic. Anything in excess and that we collect over budgeted local option tax gets transferred into the property tax relief fund.
And that's approved by the voters every year.
Yes, but 212,622 due from other funds was never approved by the voters.
I think that's the amount that was, that the general fund had that was from the excess that was owed to the property tax relief.
General fund,
The money goes into the general fund, then it has to get actually, in the general ledger has to actually have a book a transfer to move it into other funds.
so it wasn't transferred on June 30th.
No, I don't think, it does not look like that.
That's 1 year's
That makes sense.
excess.
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, that's about the right number.
I think we've spent an awful lot of time talking about the reconciliation of those two balances, which are the tip of the iceberg. And the balances in these non-major special revenue funds and a few of the others are where the huge discrepancies are, or huge unexplained transactions. And that's what I would like to see more information on. This comes up now only because in prior years, it was all lumped together under other funds. This is the first time we've seen it broken out by each one of those special funds. We had no idea, we meaning the voters, had no idea that the Recreation Committee fund had $170,000 negative balance. And isn't that another form of borrowing? Didn't that money actually come out of these other funds?
The 141,000, and I can't say for sure that all applies to the original Applejack Field number, which was 304,000, I think. Certainly the bulk of that is the balance that was never raised. So that came out of the UDAG fund. Because it was a loan that never got repaid. A loan to ourselves. I mean, the money's was all still there, but
Well, wait a minute. There's a negative balance of 141,170.
yeah.
There's also due to other funds, which I assume was
Excess
the number
local,
you were just talking about. That's 211.
212.
So we're talking about $350,000.
Talking about liabilities, right, Mike?
Yeah.
Where's the rec? And that could just be the operating loss for the year,
Yeah.
which would track. Probably the operating loss for the year.
I mean, it looks to me like the due to other funds is the amount that's probably was borrowed from the CERC fund or whatever fund that was at the time, was that, yeah. So, which is creating that negative in there. They don't add together to get.
But I'm talking now, my question was, as the 141,000, that money was spent, but there was no money in the account to pay for it. So where did it come from?
Is that the operating loss?
Well, it would have come from the CERC fund. The CERC fund would have spent the money. They owed it back to them, that CERC fund.
Like I said, the original balance of the CERC fund was 1.1 or 1.2 million. I think it was 1.1. And our original policy was not to invade that principle. That subsequently changed under the O'Keefe era, where certain projects were funded with CERC money, capital account money from the principal ballots, and was approved by the voters as such.
It was approved as a loan.
No, that was, no, it no longer, the loan was one specific time to the rec area, to the, for the construction of Applejack Field. That was the only loan that we made to ourselves. There have been plenty of capital expenses over the years, everything from equipment to town's participation in infrastructure, whatever it might be, that have come from the CERC fund, because that was the right place to do it. I mean, and a lot of them happen at the rec area. The splash pad, the pool expense, anything that qualifies as a capital expense may be funded by CERC. And if it is, it draws down that balance. I think the balance, as shown here, was something in the neighborhood of $700,000 or $800,000, well below that original amount. Part of that is because of that loan that never got paid back, but the other part is because we have invaded principle as a matter of general practice for the last 15 years or so, and all approved in the budgetary process. It'll say this revenue stream for this capital item comes from CERC, but there was a change in policy at some point 20 years ago or whatever.
Well, I've read a lot about responding to management, responding to an auditor's adverse finding. And all of the various sources that I've read say that you need to be very clear about what it is you do. It's an opportunity to build trust for the board by being very clear about what you're doing to correct the problem. My concern about turning this over to NEMRAC is we have no ownership of the problem here in town. And I think that's important. Establish clear lines of who's responsible for things and show that that is being done. And it seems to me that the solution you've come up with is, instead of centralizing it, focusing on it, we're shooting out this way. And so it's really nobody's responsible for it because everybody's responsible. That makes any sense.
Well, the problem is I hear two different arguments. One is we want external controls over how these things are done so that we know that there's no internal nefariousness going on. And now this is the other side. Well, no, we do want it internally because if we farm it out, we don't have complete control over how it's being done. I think the decision to go the route with NEMRIC in the resolution of this issue, should it happen, is because for 3 years now, it's been identified as a problem. And for 3 years now, we haven't been able, when I say we, I mean the team, Mike and the town manager to a large degree, have not been able to find a way to do it within the NEMRIC program. And I think explain why many towns stay with NEMRIC because of the way that it interfaces with other activities the town, between the town and the state and within the town itself. So if you have a better solution to the problem other than having NEMRIC help us with it, I'd love to hear it.
It's not up to me to come up with a solution.
Exactly.
You need to investigate it yourself and get a hold of it, wrap your arms around it, and not just take first thing that comes down the road. I think
I'll buy that. And I think we'll,
Nemrick is kind of an addiction. You start using one module of it, and then you want to use another module because it ties in so nicely, but all the modules are separate, and I don't believe the town clerk uses their system. Maybe she does. But I know other towns that use parts of it, but not all of it. And I run into a few who have problems, as you discussed, with the accounting, the general ledger module, and therefore use another system for that.
well, I heard the town manager say that the decision has not been made yet. And I think if staff comes to a decision on this, the select board will be informed and will have the opportunity to say, okay.
I can update you.
That kind of raises a question, like, what are we doing here? The audit gets addressed to the select board, but in my recent memory, the responses always come from the town manager. So does that response get reviewed by the select board? Or do you ever respond to it? Or is he looking for your approval before he chooses something here? That's an example of the kind of stuff in terms of clear lines of communication and how things work and transparency that is an opportunity that you have here in the current situation you're in to, build on that rather than make the situation worse.
So if I may, when we go through the budget process, which is typically several meetings, but then an all-day meeting, and you've been to some of them, they're
Yeah.
filled with barn burners. A lot of this stuff comes up and we go through very specifically each department. And then we have to talk about how the numbers make sense because we know then we're going to be in front of the entire town having to explain a lot of this stuff. So we're very involved in the process, particularly when we're getting ready to have our town meeting and our budget and all of these things, including unassigned funds and the discussion about paying back from the rec and cleaning that up, and then how things work with the local option tax revenue. I think there's a lot more granularity in these reports now because of what we've been doing over the course of the last several years, trying to have it be broken out by department more specifically, creating, capital equipment reserve funds for the police and the fire department. There's so many things that we've changed recently. We wanted to start doing percentages so that it's clearer to read and understand things. And then, some of these things that you highlight come up in the discussions because it's very hard when you get this handed to you to be able to figure out exactly where the conversation is going to go. But when you're specifically looking at each department, a lot of this stuff comes up. And I appreciate everything you're saying, but none of this is new. All of this is stuff that we've discussed, grappled with, and it seems like somebody should develop the software to compete with NIMRIC to make it better, because I think a lot of that is coming down to clunky stuff that doesn't work the way it should.
Yeah, I particularly don't care for a software vendor whose solution to not being able to make the system work.
Is to hire you
is
to do
hire you to, that's,
I'm with you.
it's a pretty bad state of affairs to them.
Yeah.
But I would like to ask the auditor, while he's still here, if you feel it's important as part of the town report to show a balance sheet for each one of the special funds.
Yeah, you're asking me a question that's outside of kind of my scope here. If it's important for it to show it, I mean, I guess that's up to you guys if it's important. That's not up to me to feel, to say that's important or not.
I guess it comes back to which has been a thorn in my side for a long time, which is not having the audit ready in time for the town report. And if we had that, we would then have the balance sheet for each one of the special funds available. There is one special fund transfer that I can't understand. And it's the auto conversion fund, which is 69 and 70. The auto conversion fund owes $180,000 to other funds. It earned some investment income this year, but it didn't apparently spend any money on anything. I wonder why the $180,000 wasn't paid back and why it was ever borrowed in the first place.
You know, these questions are just random things that we can answer at any time. We've got the auditors here and Kelly, I mean.
Well, we need to know this stuff.
Well, send me questions, you know, you're supposed to be going up there talking anyways, so we can answer the questions and I can get back and I can review them. I can give you answers, but I can't give them, you just go through the book and pick out things.
That's what the auditor's here for.
The auditor doesn't know the answer to these.
The only reason we know about it is because of this audit. This has been our first time to talk about this audit that you've had since March.
We've had the audit out for 2 months. You could have sent me a question anytime for that. And you have asked questions before, so it's not like you don't know how to do it.
I thought they would be discussed at this meeting. That's when you traditionally do it. There is a lot of detail that was never available before. That's what I'm focusing on.
So, Mike, just,
I think is more.
that's fine. Just send me your questions and I will get answers for you, okay?
I'll do
And I'll present it to the board at the same time.
Thank you.
Yeah, refocusing back, we do have the auditor here. If there's questions relative to their findings, that only he can answer, certainly accept those. If it's questions on balances and that sort of thing, then that's something that can easily be determined internally and get the answer for, but not here during the course of the meeting. Anything else?
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
I mean,
Have a good night.
And thank you, Darlene Kelly, for your input during the conversation. It was very helpful.
Okay, no problem. Have a good night.
We have a road closure request.
we talked about this last meeting, and I think the representatives are here, so. And you have in your packet the police response about closing the Upper Center Hill section. That goes by the funeral home, in addition to the section that they initially requested, which was the short section by the Sign and Squirrel Company.
Is someone going to speak to this here this evening?
Can you go up to the podium and thank you?
Thank you. Excuse me, I'm Wally Plum and I'm here with my colleagues Rosalie Fox and Richard Urso. We're representing the steering committee of the Breaking Bread Heritage Festival. And our request, as Scott just indicated from the last meeting, was primarily to close the little piece of Center Hill Road that is in front of the Squirrel Gallery and the sign maker. Secondarily, we had put in a bid to potentially close where the, I believe it's Park Avenue, where the frock store and the funeral parlor, Brewster Shea, is. But our primary concern is that little piece of Center Hill Road. And the action items from the last meeting included me approaching the owner of Squirrel Gallery as a courtesy, as Jackie suggested, which I think was very valuable. And I did that, and I spoke directly with Catherine Sullivan. She is all in. She's really excited about increased foot traffic that might drive business into her gallery. I've made 2 attempts to go into the sign store and have not been able to reach the manager, but I will continue to do so. One of the times I was there, the door was open, but he wasn't there. So in any case, that's my intention. And I know Scott was going to follow up with the police department to find out about the volume of traffic and the traffic patterns in general over that particular holiday weekend when our festival is scheduled. So we're here to continue to plead our case. I did see your email come through, Scott, but I didn't read the outcome. I was at work today from the police. So I'd be interested in hearing that.
Sure. The select board has a copy of that in the packets, but basically, in the police review of it, they say that the police is not in favor of closing the Park Street section near the funeral home. We share the board's concerns regarding emergency vehicle access, traffic flow and congestion, especially during Columbus Day weekend when downtown is already extremely busy. As for the Center Hill Road closure near Adams Park, I have some reservations. While it's a relatively small section of roadway, the request falls on one of the busiest weekends of the year. Any road closure has potential to add to traffic congestion and create confusion for motorists. While we are not in favor of closing that section of Center Hill Road, if the board decides to approve the request, the PD will work with the organizers to make it as safe as possible and minimize any impacts to traffic and emergency access.
So, of course, the police department is our in-house expert on traffic
Right.
and traffic flow. The recommendation is for us not to do that, but they left an opening for us to do so and said they would work with you and us to make sure
Yeah.
that safe if we.
Yeah, well, our hope is to have food trucks in addition to the food vendors inside of at Adams Park that you graciously approved for us to use for that day. And that's where we would have the trucks park. So without that closure, where, there's now a change in our event, which we can certainly work with if we have to. But that's the most significant outcome of a decision not to close the street, is that there really won't be any place for the food trucks to park.
So, I know last meeting, I expressed that I think I was more open to closing both. I do, however, understand that, by closing the Center Hill Road section, there is still the access to Center Hill by going down Park Place, where, it's not like we're closing off the flow to, bi-direction. So while I respect the input from the police department, I think that this is, we're not closing it off completely. And I think we're allowing for the use of a park that doesn't get very much use anymore. And for a really interesting opportunity for the community. So I'd be in favor of moving forward with a closure of Center Hill.
Have you explored other locations that would be more suitable to this size? Is there any other place that you could do it where you could park the food trucks safely and?
Did you say that again?
Are there any other locations that you've thought about in the town that would be better for this type of event? Just because on Columbus weekend, there's gonna be a lot of traffic. And if you want food trucks, I just worry that if we close one side of it, it's just gonna make it all the busier on the other side of it. And I wouldn't want to go against the recommendation of the police department and close both.
We thought about Factory Point, but we think that is less accessible to be able to put trucks, food trucks in that area because of it, being a very main street. We certainly don't want to have them parked on the grass.
We wouldn't want that either.
We did also speak with the gentleman who owns the property where Three Pairs is, the gallery and Sushi Boat and that whole thing, to see whether we might put some, at that point, it was going to be tables, not necessarily food trucks. And the parking lot is, if you've been there, which I'm sure you have, is all cut up. Great opportunity to trip and have an accident. And even though it looked like a reasonably large enough space, he also wanted to have access for a fire truck or a police something. So we didn't pursue that. He did not seem like a reliable partner, and especially the quality of the parking lot. So we did look at that as well.
And to be clear, I think Heidi, you said closing off both ways. We would, if we just close off Center Hill, it's a one way.
Yeah, I know, but it would just make the traffic then flow to Park Place. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're closing off one side of it, they're just gonna go the other way, which then is also gonna be busy for you. What about the rec park? Have you thought about doing it there?
Well, we really wanted a space that was in town, where we would get the benefit of all this fabulous visitation, because it's the height of leaf peeping season and all of that. So people who park and may want to walk around. So we were hesitant to go that far afield. We did actually even speak with Orvis about using part of their campus. But that turned out to be a non-starter for corporate reasons that, are bigger than all of us. So we have explored different things, and from a location perspective, Adams Park really satisfies all of the things that we were thinking about in terms of accessibility and also size. We don't need something that's too gigantic. This is the Goldilocks spot for us. Did everyone get, Scott, in their packet a copy of our?
Not the one you dropped off today. They got the previous.
All right, do you mind if I hand these?
Go ahead, sure. Yeah.
Now this, Lori got it this afternoon and said she was going to forward it to you, but we have copies here.
Yes, those first, thanks.
We were just talking about that, and
Food trucks can't get on the grass
yeah, there's no
there.
place for them to park.
I have one.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
We do think
Yeah.
that foot traffic is going to be a big part of it. But we need to have it, I think, in an area that is somewhat protected as well from a lot of traffic.
I mean, the advantage of closing Center Hill Road is that, for purposes of protecting or closing off the road, we technically only have to close off one side, right? We're not closing off, we don't have to have both sides of the road closed off because it's already a one-way street. I mean, I guess it's it is a busy weekend. I mean, this is anecdotal. I mean, I'm there during, lunch with, because the event, I'm sorry, what was the time on the event?
1 to 4.
1 to 4. So I've been there on a, busy day, with the avocado pit. And, maybe a few cars over a few minutes goes through there. I know that's a little bit different. I'm standing there.
Are you crazy? That's nuts. That Columbus Day weekend? That's gonna be nonstop traffic. All through that.
I'm talking about when I'm there on the weekday.
Right, but that has nothing to
Okay.
do with this.
Well, I'm just trying to put it into perspective. Not discounting your point. I think, I don't know, these are the types of things that build community. These are the types of things that are what people remember about Manchester. And if we can accommodate it, I highly recommend we do. And if it doesn't, like, look, we had these similar complaints that the congestion is going to cause a lot of problems with the Special Olympics, right? We tested it out. It apparently worked, and we allowed them to do it again. If this is an opportunity for us to test this out, yes, it's a busy weekend, but let's test it out. Which I believe, isn't that when Special Olympics was, Columbus Day weekend as well?
Are you talking about the coin drive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was one of those busy.
So this is an opportunity for us to test this out. And if it doesn't work, we know for the future that this is going to be a problem.
I don't disagree. I think it's great. I am very hesitant to go against what the recommendation is from our police officers of closing the Park Place portion in addition to Center Hill. And so, I can make a case for Center Hill, even though they don't sound like they really want it, but if that's the difference between you being able to have food truck vendors and kind of realize your whole vision of it, there's still going to be access. But I do think that by closing that one piece, you're going to get additional traffic on the other side of your event. So it's kind of like I don't think about how you feel about that.
Ivan, Jackie has it end up.
Excuse me just a minute.
Right.
Jackie.
Hi, the only other space I was thinking about, I don't know if the group has thought about this, but it made me think about the at MEMS using that visitors parking lot for food trucks and then the field right to the right of that. Is that, that's pretty close to town, and I don't know if that's been considered.
Well, it is, I don't think we've talked about that.
We did.
Oh, we did talk about that. Forgive me.
It had come up and just wasn't I think it was decided it wasn't as visible to attract people. There may be a way to sign it properly so that people know something's going on there. We could take a look at that.
And we
Yeah.
don't know what's going on with the school at that point, whether there might be some special event going on. It's obviously they would have top priority, but I think the visibility, Jackie, was the big issue. That
Okay.
this is, as we all know, this is a fraught time. And if there ever was a time to bring people together, to recognize the tremendous diversity, even if we don't see it, the tremendous diversity of the texture, the fabric, the tapestry of Vermont, starting with, the Abenaki and going up to our most recent individuals who settled here, whether it's through no fault of their own or refugees or whatever. I mean, we could go through all the different types of groups, cultures, ethnicities, and it's made Vermont and this area in particular as special as it is. And so the idea of not just simply having breaking bread, which we will have on this 100-foot long table, with as many breads from as many different cultures as we can identify and bring together, as many chairs as we can fit around in 100-foot table, so that we're breaking bread with somebody we may never have met before. We're bringing people together. Wars have been solved by breaking bread together. And all we want to do is sit down and say, we are a great nation, we are a great state, we're a great section of Vermont. Let's eat food, let's break bread, and let's appreciate the diversity that we have. And this is what we want to do. And I can understand the concern about traffic, but you well know when the farmer's market was Thursday at Adams Park, if you wanted to drive down Center Hill, you couldn't often. There were trucks parked there. There were people walking in the road. So we have had experience with that part of the road being congested through something going on at Adams Park. Granted, it is a busy weekend, but what a beautiful weekend. You know, originally Columbus Day, and now it's Indigenous Peoples Weekend. That's what the state has declared. And so I think to honor the roots of this nation, this state, and this area of the world, we just thought it would be a brilliant thing to do. And it's our 250th birthday, you know, so what better time to do it? So that's why we're here. It's all a citizen group. We are not coming from any organization. We've all banded together from different organizations, different nonprofits. We're reaching out to every possible resource in town to get them involved. And we've had a marvelous response. It's in the process of coming together, but we've got all the pieces that will come together and make this a marvelous time. And it's, you know, 3 hours, setup time, breakdown time, but 3 hours on a Saturday afternoon. So I hope you will consider that.
Okay,
As far as questions, I think we probably need about 2 hours before for setup.
Correct.
And an hour after the cleanup.
We asked questions and I think you supplied, we got the answers to those questions from both you and the police department. I think we have all the information that we need to make this decision, except for one business owner that was not able to be reached.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think there's anything else that we need to ask for to make the decision on this. I think we just need to figure out what our decision is. Jonathan's made
I made a motion last meeting.
passionate plea. Made a motion last time, went away. But I think we're at that point.
Yeah. I would like to make a motion to approve of the closure of Center Hill Road for the purpose of breaking bread on Indigenous People Weekend.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion among the board members?
Yeah, can I just add one thing?
Yeah.
Just at the request of Jamie Blanchard and the police department, that you really work closely with them to figure out the safest way to make that happen. If that means somebody has to be there, or they have to park a car at the end of the road, or whatever it is that
Without
has to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we just thought the first step is this, and then once you approve it, making the connections with the police department.
And we
who
need them
to
there.
speak.
Yeah.
We need them there. I mean, if they're our partners in this, they should be our partners in this. We want to make it a safe, fun, community-based event. And so they've got to be our partners.
If I can just add.
Is there a
Add a comment? Yeah. It has to do with this.
We're under discussion.
Because we did have this discussion when it came to the kitchen stores event that they had, and I have to say, I had a lot of concern around the safety, thinking about how popular all those businesses are and how many people were going to show up, and there were a lot of people there.
Right.
And there didn't seem to be any traffic issues. It is just a straight stretch there. But I just think it just makes sense to ensure that someone is there. They direct the traffic at the Orbis store when they have they're probably having Orbis days on Columbus Day weekend. So I think just adding that little extra, because that crosswalk also at the avocado pit is very dangerous. People Jonathan has spoken of people not stopping when that light is going on and there's children crossing the street. So just a little added extra.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion?
I actually just have one more thought. Did you ever talk about, sorry, doing this at the community library?
Or to be able,
Ever think about doing this at the library?
we are speaking with the library about how we partner with them, but not doing it on their property.
Well, it's also the building across the way that's not part of the property, the Maples too. So, no, we've not talked to them about
No.
that, but they are working with our education committee on coming up with educational opportunities that will be also part of this event in addition to music and bread breaking and
We have a motion and a second on the table. I'm going to call the question. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye. Opposed? I believe that was 5-0. It was 5-0, and you got approval.
thank you
Thank you.
very much. We appreciate it. Come, you'll have a great time.
Yeah.
We'll keep you informed.
That'll be good food.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna pick up the pace here a little bit.
Okay,
Triton Swim Team residential fee request.
so let me explain the sheet that you have in front of you first of all, because I think you only have the second page. But regardless, that's all we need to look at. The pink highlighted line is the line we're talking about. Further down that column, you'll see Triton Swim Team, like a season pass type thing. That's no longer available. And then Triton Swim Pass for practice only, that's no longer available. So cross those two out. So we're talking about that pink lined item where it's $50 a season for a resident and $90 for a non-resident. See,
We don't have pink,
It's
but
full season pass youth
yeah,
is the.
it's not pink.
It's the 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth line down.
I did ask for it to be colored, but it apparently didn't get it.
Okay.
So yes, it's the third from the top. Pool season pass youth. Under 18 years of age. So the request from the Triton Swim Team has been to make all their non-residents available to have the season pass for residents. And the thinking behind that is that on the first page that apparently you don't have, it says that local organizations approved by the select board shall be charged at the residential rate for field usage. So apparently we've made allotments for.
We actually have it in our handout.
Oh, okay, great. So you have an allotment to allow for this resident rate to happen for field usage. Now, I would just assume that that might cover pool usage too, but it doesn't say that clearly. So, and a member from the Triton Swim Team is here on the website.
Okay.
Jamie, did you want to talk and say something?
Oh, thank you. Thanks a lot, Scott. Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie Luke on the board of the Manchester Triton Swim Team. And I'm not sure how many people in the room use the pool on a regular basis, but it's an amazing resource, not only for Manchester, but also for local towns. From Bennington all the way up to Paulet, to Londonderry, Stratton, Winhull. You'll see kids in that pool who are babies all the way up to people over age 100. So it has an amazing draw across all communities locally. Speaking specifically about this isn't just around the swim team, but though I think, when it comes to the swim team and revenue to the pool, so far this year, we have 72 swimmers on the swim team, age 6 to 18. That represents about 58 families who, if they were all paying the $250 family resident rate, that would bring in $14,500 to Manchester, those 58 families. But as is, a lot of those families are not members, or they're not residents of Manchester. So they're paying individual rates for the season, which looking at the website, it's $120 for non-resident adult, $90 for a youth. So just, you know, when you think about the non-resident fees to use that resource across a family, it does start to get a little bit steep. And I feel like it could be a situation where by allowing non-residents of Manchester to access the pool at the family resident rate, you may actually see an increase in revenue from the pool because more people might actually find it accessible and you know, choose to become a member rather than just using it and paying for it on a one-off basis.
But what it sounds like, based on our policy as it exists, is that local sports organizations approved by the select board shall be charged a resident rate for field usage. And it would be, if we considered the pool in the same category as a field, and then we would have to recognize the Triton swim team as a what do we call it? A local sports organization.
Right.
Hey, Jamie, of the 72 kids, how many of them are from Manchester versus other towns?
You know, yeah, I was just looking at the roster a little bit ago, and just going from what I know, it looks like it might be somewhere around half and half. I'd have to do some more digging, but just knowing the families from you know, local schools and communities, I would say it probably is around half and half.
On the revenue side, it would mean a shift of about $1,400 if it's actually half and half, losing the non-resident.
How many of them are, are any of them potentially not paying the,
Individual?
like, are they paying like one-offs every time they come? I'm trying to remember back to my rec department days.
Yeah. You know, I don't think so.
Okay.
I've never heard of any, I've never seen or heard of any parent just paying one-off for their child to swim on the team, because practices are every day, Monday through Friday. So that would add up pretty quickly. It's a 6-week season. So I think that would add up awfully quickly.
And Brian did a quick calculation. If swim every day during the season, 7 weeks, it's, you know, about $3 a visit.
For the regular $90.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I support this, it gets tricky when we're already operating at such a big deficit every year. And we discount a lot of things. But I'm not saying I'm not supporting it. It gets tricky because everything's a one-off. And if anything, I feel like our fees are way too low for the rec. I feel like our camps are way too inexpensive. And, you know, we struggle with paying the salaries of the employees and trying to have all of the revenues associated to departments where the expenditures are, make it really tricky.
Jackie.
Yeah, I just have a question for Jamie, like where's the ask coming from? Is it parents that have expressed concern, or, you know, why did this surface, I guess?
No, thanks, Jackie. That's a good question. It is a parent ask. There are several parents who have, you know, complained about this for years, that it just, when you add up what it costs to be a member of the pool for a family of 4, you know, it ends up being about $420 for a family of 4. And there's also no discount for multiple kids. So if you add up 120 for a parent, 120 for another parent, 90 per youth, and then that you do that arithmetic, that's what you pay for your family. So even at that level, there's not a discount for multiple kids. And so it makes that pool membership, rather pricey for a lot of families.
And just to clarify, this is just for the kiddos that are on the swim team.
I think Scott's way of position, well, it could be, yes, in the way that Scott's positioning it, given, that this is a field used by a team. I think that is one way to look at it, absolutely. Another way to look at it is as a community resource that doesn't have a family pass level for non-residents. That there could be an opportunity there to actually increase the revenue that comes into the pool by having a non-resident.
I'm gonna have to interrupt right now. We've just hit 9 o'clock, and by our rules, the meeting ends at 9 o'clock unless we extend it. I'm asking for a motion to extend.
I'll move to extend the meeting.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's 5-0. Okay. You can go ahead, Jamie. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's fine. Thank you, of course. But yeah, so I think there are those. There are a few ways to look at this, and I think one is it is a swim team expense question. Secondly, it could just be a non-resident member question, given the fact that a family pass is not even available for non-residents at any discount level.
Yeah, the recreation area as a whole struggles to make their revenue numbers within what was expected from the budget. The pool, with the expectation on the pool is that it generates about half what it costs to run it. So the pool's a big loss all by itself. I'm sure the numbers have changed, but it used to cost about $100,000 to run the pool, and it generated 50,000. I'm sure those numbers have changed significantly since the last time I looked at it. But this is a really tough one for me.
No, I like people using the facilities,
Yeah.
and I think we've established that as a board, we care more about access and accessibility for everyone, but I always get worried about precedent, and I guess I have a couple of questions. Why don't we have a non-member family rate? And that would be my first question.
Yeah, I don't remember the answer.
And then,
Because no one's taking it.
and then I guess my second question would be that, what is, like, if we were going to approve the Triton swim team as an organization under that rule, I think I feel more comfortable about it than having it be an exception.
Right.
So, that would be.
I also want to just, I don't want to have to extend the meeting another 30 minutes. I would say that.
It's an hour, right?
Oh, it's an hour? Okay, well, I'll steer clear of that. While I understand that, the purpose of that the rec center has consistently not been a revenue generating organism within our town government, it's always not necessarily meant to be, right? I think if we are setting expectations that they're supposed to get X, Y, and Z in terms of what we set as potential revenue, and they're not meeting that, that's a different question. But all in all, it is a public service that we're providing. I mean, I would support based on the fact that it is the most repetitive use of our pool. It is getting bodies there. So I would support it for that.
I just want to maybe lend a little more weight to what I said earlier, that the recreation area, specifically the pool,
Yeah.
but the recreation as a whole is supported by a lot of tax. Residents pay those tax dollars. Therefore, they are given a break on the fees relative to other people. And so this is an extension of that. And I don't want to diminish the weight of that.
But we do it, like we said, we do it for the states. We do it for a local sports organization, Equinox football, right? We know that there's kids that are going there from Sunderland and Arlington and all across the region. So we extend that same courtesy based on the fact.
Hey, you're talking about my family members here.
I know where to go.
Steve,
I think, it's two sides. I agree with Jonathan and I agree with Ivan. But we're the taxpayers. We pay for the maintenance of that facility and always have, and it's always operated under a deficit. I'm sorry to say that, I think if you make a decision that has been requested, you're opening up a can of worms for other areas of that park. We are losing money. Why does a non-resident expect a break when we're paying for the use of that park?
Can I add some information? There was a question over here to my right. We've received an answer on where Dorset is the only town to compensate for the difference between a Manchester Family Pass and the sum total of buying youth, adult, etc. individually.
that's interesting.
So there is some compensation from just Dorset, not other towns. Thank you for thinking that.
Did we have that discussion on this?
Well, we used to have a relationship with Dorset. We actually made a contribution to the rec area, about $57,000, and got resident fees for their residents.
I believe
They
it's-
backed out of that agreement. They decided that didn't make sense for them anymore. But apparently they have this policy where they will reimburse.
So what's the family rate we charge them, or do they just do it individually?
They pay individually, right?
Well, actually, no, there is no family.
Right, that's what I'm
That's what
saying.
she's saying.
They pay individually
yeah,
for
yeah.
non-resident and
Yeah.
then they get reimbursed.
I mean, I
Must be obviously reimbursed for the difference.
The $250.
I would,
There's no difference, they're not.
I would like to, this is obviously not part of this, but I would like to look at why we aren't doing the family.
I don't know. It's a
Yeah,
historic
I can't remember.
carryover. We can look at that.
But because that might actually open up additional fees that we're not even.
Sure. That said, I do think it's strange that we offer local sports on fields. When you have families that are using the pool 5 days a week, that's their home.
Yeah.
So the whole family has to go
Yeah.
to be part of that. I was a swim parent at one point. And you live there, so you have,
Yeah.
that can
I
be.
used to get there before I would show to work.
But that's not a taxpayer issue.
It's not, but you're promoting the pool,
I
to the rest of the family who's
Wow.
gonna end up on the swim team. Sorry.
So I
We don't wanna get caught.
guess the question is whether we look at this as a local sports organization that's being charged as a resident rate, at the resident rate for field use. That's, I guess, to me, what the question is.
And, I agree that it's using that as a group.
I don't think there's a question that it's a local sports organization, but it does say approved by the select board. And then there's that word field usage. I don't know if we've ever
Well, that's-
considered the pool to be a field.
Right.
So,
It's a facility.
but
I could
the
get-
spirit
yes.
of that,
Yeah, I could get comfortable with it under that.
yeah, the spirit of that certainly could be extended. I am, however, I really like the idea that Dorset has stepped up to help out their residents to use the facility at the residential rate.
Right, so how many kids are at Dorset, Jamie?
Yeah, I don't know how many Dorset families there are. But is it, I'm just posing a question, because clearly we all want Manchester to do well and to be in have a balanced budget. But I'm just wondering, would we ever think about this as a possible increase in revenue, such that if there are family passes available for, say, $250 for non-residents across the board, that may actually increase revenue to the pool because more families then join. Because there is a sentiment, and this is anecdotal, this is not scientific what I'm about to say, but I hear this a lot being at the pool, families sort of being a little bit bitter that they have to pay, you know, per person or per visit when they are showing when they are there all the time, and they would prefer to have a family pass. It's I think there is, in other words, I think that there is an argument to be made for the potential that those people who are frustrated that there isn't a family pass would then buy one for $250 if there was the opportunity. And it's a question, it's a thought. I wonder if that logic has been used successfully at the town level before.
I don't know which way we're gonna go on this, but I will say I'm probably gonna be the hard ass and say if Dorset has figured out that it makes sense for their residents to do this, then they're covered under the Dorset policy, that they'd be paying residential rates rather than.
For a family pass, that's the problem, that we don't.
Yeah, I understand the family pass thing, that's a different issue.
Yeah.
But $250 for a residential.
360 would be the equivalent.
Okay,
If you look at the other.
if you look at the difference, yeah. So maybe there should be a family pass for 360. But for this particular request, I think that the beef of these families should be with their respective towns. Hey, why don't we do what Dorset does? Manchester's carrying all of the expense and the burden of providing this service. Why don't we help them out in providing this to our families so that our families can get it at a residential rate? From my perspective, it's not our problem.
I guess are we talking about the difference between $25 and $40 or the difference between 50 and 90?
50 and 90.
But why is this trade and swim pass?
That's no longer,
Oh, you said that doesn't exist.
right, that's right.
Yeah.
But also we're talking about the non-existence of a family pass at all.
Which is something we should definitely figure out. I think that's fair.
And while I hear you about Dorset figuring it out, I think, the challenge here is that this team has representatives from communities that may also have a pool, but not have a swim team. Like Arlington has, I don't think the swim team would be in the pond, at the Arlington Rec, and they call it a pool, but, I think while I understand the merit behind, Dorset, I think that's a representation of a relationship we've had in the past. It's not, I guarantee there's probably people from Shaftesbury and Bennington and Winhall that don't have, they don't have a team.
Is there an appetite on the board to create a family pass rate at this meeting?
Yes.
Sure. So I'd like to make a motion that we create a family pass rate for $360 for non-residents.
I'll second it.
That's 2 adults, 2 kids. What's
I
the
mean,
360?
that's the value of
It's
2 adults and
it's
1 kid.
Equivalent to the 250.
Yeah.
So.
It's equivalent.
That compensated, then what's the difference between resident and non-resident?
$110.
So the residents.
They
The
pay
residents pay
$250 for
$250.
family, non-residents
Non-residents,
$360.
would be 360 under the proposal.
And non-residents is
$360,
$360.
$110 more.
It's 5 times the senior tax.
Sounds right.
I think that's a fair assessment.
Well, not your
Okay.
decision,
Move
but thank you for your input. We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 That's 5.
Okay,
Oh.
so then now second issue.
Yeah.
I don't think we can give you the good deal because Dorset's gonna pay for some of your kids and we just got you a family pass rate for a lot of your other kids, right? I feel like that's the fair thing to do.
But we have family passes now because you said it's 58 families, so there's a lot of double kids there. That solves one of the problems.
So,
And could we get a more accurate accounting of what they have?
Yeah, and then if she can come back to us with,
I'll come back, but at this point in time, I'm just one vote. I'm buying into what Heidi just said. So we've made it a little bit easier
we've established a family rate.
for our neighbors.
Yeah.
And it's like 2 adults and 1 child. So you can have unlimited kids
Right.
and
Family
not
rate.
have to pay the $90 per kid, extra kid.
Actually, 2 adults and 1 child would be 330.
120, that's 240
Plus
plus,
90 for the.
oh yeah,
youth.
but that's all right.
But
It's a mistake we make for
Right.
not doing the math ourselves.
That's true.
We just approved to.
Okay, so are we gonna make a motion on the second one? Or what are we doing
If
here?
somebody wants to make a motion, you can try to float it. The typically a motion is a positive question. Shall we decide to do something? Not shall we not decide to do something? So if you don't want to do it, we don't require a motion. If you want to do it, that would require.
Everyone's looking at me. Well, I mean, I would still like to make a motion. I don't want to give the reason why. I'll move to extend the resident rate.
Can I help you with that?
Yeah,
The motion would be to identify the swim team as a local sports organization
approved by the select board.
approved by the select board. And to
There's your motion.
recognize the pool as a field.
Yes,
So that would apply.
that's my motion.
Can I ask a question? No?
We typically discuss after it's moved and seconded.
But
You could second it for purposes of
I have a
discussion.
clarifying question about that adjustment.
The appropriate
You'd have to amend it.
The appropriate thing to do would be to second it for purposes of discussion and then discuss it. And if it needs to be tweaked, then offer an amendment. Am I right, Mr. Moderator?
Okay, I'll make a second. I'll
Okay.
Second that.
Now we can.
I'll make a second.
Now we can discuss it.
Okay, my question is, that is just for the Triton Swim
Yes.
members, not extended to their families,
Oh.
just the member, right? I'm reading this as
Mhm.
local sports organizations, meaning the actual swim members.
Yeah.
So if they wanted a single pass, they would pay the residential rate.
Exactly.
So I will stand by my second because not extended.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion of the motion? Typically, it's under the select board discussion. I'll allow it.
No, I think that, I guess my question to you all is, who elects you? A non-resident or a resident? And you're making decisions tonight that, first of all, you made a decision on the police, the safety of the local people on Center Hill, which I disagree with, and now you're making a motion, well, we need to, well, taxpayers, they'll pay it, so give them a break. I think we got a problem.
Well, I really don't want to respond to that, but by making this move,
You can,
we're not changing the expense side of the ledger. What we're doing is talking about the revenue side. So does that mean that the taxpayers are picking up the difference?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does, but we're not adding more expense. But what we're doing is allowing a local sports team. And I intend to vote against this, by the way, but I'm explaining it.
Making a very good argument for
Yeah,
it.
well, I am. I'm making an argument for
Yeah.
you.
And to be clear, I mean,
Here.
we're talking about $1,400, right? Earlier, we were talking about $60,000+ for an audit. Right? Which may or may not turn up something. These folks show up all summer long, are there. They have been dedicated for, I mean, as many years as I can remember. Of being part of this community, and if it maybe helps grow the opportunity for more members to be, take part in this because of financial risk, I would hope that more towns would offer this as a, like Dorset does. I think you're going to be hard pressed to find other ones that were going to take that up.
And if I may add, it's already at the bottom of the fee schedule.
Yeah.
That we allow local sports organizations approved by the select board shall be charged at the residential rate for field usage. And I think it would be discriminatory to leave out the Triton swim team.
They may quite possibly be the longest running operator of the rec.
I guess I have another question. Why did we take away the swim team and swim team passes?
I don't know the reason why. I think it was just, I know the swim team, Triton swim team enrollment, the Triton season enrollment,
You're right.
we stopped covering that for them.
Like
We stopped doing the enrollment. for them.
I
They
remember.
run that themselves.
But I remember specifically, because the byline in there is the Triton swim pass season for Triton practice only, meaning you could only get into the pool
During practice.
during practice. It wasn't for an extended, you couldn't.
And then the swim team, that's a fee to participate on the swim team that we stopped collecting? A flat fee?
They collect it and they pay their coaches. We used to do all of that.
It used to be a pass through.
I mean, honestly, Jamie, like, I think we need to have a bigger conversation because I agree with you on some of this stuff, but I also am having a hard time with some of the resident, non-resident issues. But I guess I would have questions around why these things disappeared too, and how the funds that you're collecting for participation are being allocated, just because it's hard to understand how your money's being used. And then you're asking us to give you some of our money. So it's a little tricky.
But you pay dues for Equinox football. We don't question that.
I mean, I know nothing about football.
No, I mean, just like that's another local sports team, right? I mean, or Equinox lacrosse or any of those local
Right.
teams. They collect dues. We're not part of that. I think if I remember right, we were simply doing it because at the time it was the easiest process to collect, like on the sheet, the half-page sheet where you register for all your programs and then pay it, was for us to collect it and then pass it through to the Triton swim team. I almost specifically remember that.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the way it was.
Okay, I didn't understand that. So that makes more
We
sense.
do not do that with other sports organizations.
Right. Okay, so.
Okay, we'll call the question. All in favor of identifying the Triton team as a local sports organization and giving them their residential rate, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, that's 4.
Well, you haven't said that.
Opposed? No. That's 4-1, I believe.
Yes.
And you got it, Jamie.
But I think we should.
Great, thank you.
We need to reevaluate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we now have a family non-resident rate.
Yeah, that's terrific. Was that, just to be clear, was that 360 or 330? Just so I know what to tell. 60, thank you.
The number was 360. That was
Thank
approved.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of an FYI, the up-to-date revenue for the Parks and Rec Department shows that the pool passes are about 1,700 under what our budget was, but that was as of the 12th of June, so that people were still buying passes. We may make that budgeted amount. And overall, the Parks and Rec Department is ahead of their revenue budgeted amount of 160,900. We're already at 165,000.
Wow.
So the camps are doing very well.
Yes, I know I'm on the wait list.
Okay, town manager updates.
Okay. So the DPW director search has been completed. We made an offer and he's accepted Justin Olansky. He's a superintendent of DPW at Williamstown, Mass.
Here we go.
His name is Justin Olansky. Justin's father actually is a member of Bennington's, was a member of Bennington's Water and Sewer for 30 years, and now he's on the DPW. But regardless, Justin brings a lot of extensive experience with supervisory skills, advanced highway certifications, DPW technological skills, and work experience. He has future goals for advancing our DPW, and we're very excited to have him join our team. We're still working on the foreman position.
My understanding is he lives in the Pownell area?
He does. His family is thinking of relocating up here, not necessarily Manchester, but Sunderland, Arlington. Reason, yeah. Second, police chief retirement. You have that in your packet. It seems to be everybody's joining the fun now. So he's working till August 1st. I've been reviewing the job description, and I met with Lieutenant Jamie Blanchard last week. We're discussing the possibility of moving Jamie into the position, but that hasn't been decided yet. Jamie's actually been prepared for this role by the chief in the last 18 months. He's assumed much of PJ's responsibility. He's highly supported by PJ for the chief's role. And it's similar to when PJ was appointed. He came through the same method, so.
Yeah, I mean, what we ran into when PJ became chief was way smoother than when Mike Hall became the chief before that. And Mike made a lot of sense. He'd been with the department. The problem was we hadn't put the wheels in motion for a smooth transition. And luckily we found a process where we hired an outside chief temporarily to groom Mike and get him ready for the position. And then Mike's first job, once he got the job, was to groom somebody internally to move up, and that was PJ. And then PJ's been doing the same. Right. So
Jamie, I think at our last budget meeting, Jamie.
Oh, he does
literally all the talking.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah, he's on top of it.
He has a different public speaking style than PJ.
He's a lot.
He actually does it.
Oh, that was good.
I'm gonna skip C for the moment and then add D, which is the East Manchester Road FEMA buyout, those three buildings over there. So what happened there and why they're not demolished yet is that the FEMA buyout occurred. We became the proud owners of those, but the demo costs were more extensive than they had built into the FEMA budget, and they couldn't go back to FEMA asking for more money.
Right.
So the state found money in their Vermont Emergency Management capital fund somewhere. But unfortunately, right now, they apparently shut down around July 1st for 6 weeks before they can get the financing going again. So once they get up and running again, we will receive that, or the demo people receive that money and then knock that.
That'll be funded by FEMA, and the balance will be funded somehow through the state.
Through the state, right. And then the Mark Roberts property, that's still at FEMA as far as the demo added demo costs go. But regardless of the outcome of that, we can't do anything until the end of October because it's been identified as bat habitat.
Yeah.
And the summer camps have started, like I said. So back to the downtown public restroom facility. It's been brought to my attention through various sources, and I think you guys would agree too, that it'd be great to have a public facility downtown for restrooms. People walking all around and, you know, you go to Saratoga, you go wherever you go, there's usually a downtown restrooms available.
Are there still
Everyone's right by-
restrooms available
yeah.
in the
Ralph Lauren.
No, they're not.
Locked.
Now,
part of their permit?
The people that come into the visitor center are looking for a restroom.
Yeah.
Do you have one?
I mean, there was a,
We have one, but it's under, it's not really public facing.
we, meaning the municipality,
Everybody else.
negotiated those restrooms into the permits for those buildings, but,
we couldn't find it.
okay.
And so they were damaged, and so they decided not to reopen them. So we're gonna have them reopened, hopefully, for the summer concerts on the green, which start tomorrow, by the way, and they won't be ready for tomorrow. So we are gonna have a classy porta potty way off to the side in the back for tomorrow night, and Street Fest on Friday.
It's supposed to be nice weather, so.
Tomorrow night.
Tomorrow.
Friday, no.
Friday, it's not looking.
Friday,
hot.
60% chance.
So anyways, I just wanted to tell you that we're starting this percolation of this discussion. So if you have thoughts on it, we have water to the site now and the sewer's right off street. So if we had a bundle of money fall into our lap, is that something you'd want to pursue or consider? So that's kind of what I'm looking for tonight.
The bathrooms down. Richfield Road.
One of those nice portable ones.
I'm not expecting an answer tonight.
Yeah.
I just was looking for consensus to follow up on this and maybe bring it back to you at some point in the future, probably during the budget discussion. If you're definitely not interested in it.
It is a big need.
Yeah.
Heard that before.
One more of those.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Okay, is there any other business among the board members? I'm not hearing or seeing any. I don't believe we have an executive session planned. Our next meeting will be the 7th of July. And
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Bye.
We are adjourned.
Bye, Jackie.
Thank you all for attending.
Happy birthday.